Quick revision of chapter 12 along with grey boxes and answers to the model questions. So CSAS 3 audit standard on forming of an opinion. So forming of opinion means view of the auditors, which shall be based on fact, record and verifications made by him during the performance of audit. So in Re Bhikubhai Vitlabhai Patel and others versus State of Gujarat, it was held that existence of relevant material is a precondition to form the opinion. So, although the opinion is subjective, it must be backed by the material disclosing that a necessity has been arisen. So, upon the performance of audit and conclusion, the auditor has to submit a report stating that the affairs of the company are carried out in a fair and free from the material misstatement. However, it should be clearly indicative, like unmodified, modified, and if modified, whether it is a modified as adverse or disclaimer of opinion. And in particular, the auditor shall evaluate whether the requirements of the applicable reporting framework has the company adequately disclosed, has the company followed all the procedures under the law, and is the company in compliance with laws, is company consistent with the applicable reporting framework, and information presented by the company is relevant, reliable, comparable and understandable, and company has provided adequate disclosure to enable the intended user to understand the effect of material transaction and event in the information. So in box there is a meaning of CSAS 3 and its objective. So CSAS 3 is formulated by Auditing Standard Board and is effective from 1st July 2019 on the recommendatory basis and mandatory from 2021 1st April. And objective of this standard is to lay down a basis and manner for evaluation of the conclusion drawn from the audit evidence obtained and express the opinion thereof in a written report. And next, forms of opinion: unqualified or unmodified or clean opinion. The auditor shall report an unqualified opinion if affairs of the company are found to be free from material misstatement. This is also known as clean opinion, meaning that affairs of the company are presented fairly. The auditor should express an unmodified opinion when, based on the audit evidence, the auditor conclude that there is a due compliance with the applicable laws in terms of timeliness and process, and the records as relevant for the audit verified by him as a whole are free from misstatements and maintained in accordance with the applicable laws. And next, record includes what? Articles, memorandum and articles of the associations, minutes, books, agreements, other documents and correspondence. Normally these are the records, but if during the audit, if auditor warrants that prior period records, that also considered as record. And record means the records of an auditee. However, if an opinion forming warrants the record of regulators, authorities and third party. Total 4. First one is prior period report records. Second, records of the regulator, records of the authorities and records of the third party. These also records. And next, there is a misstatement meaning. Misstatement means any information or statement which is false, incorrect, incomplete, misleading or misrepresents or omits, suppresses a material fact. False, incorrect, incomplete, misleading, misrepresents, omits, suppresses a material fact. So misstatement, statement will be written. So misstatement means when any written statement is found to be false, incorrect, incomplete, misleading or which misrepresents or omits or suppresses any material fact from the given meaning of the stated sentence or paragraph or otherwise from the whole document, which in turn fails to portray a clear, true and fair meaning of the titled subject, and ultimately purpose of the given statement is not attained or understood in its correct sense. So causes of misstatement may include inaccuracy, omission and incorrect management's judgment that auditor considers unreasonable, and they have given 2 examples. Next, unmodified opinion is an audit report that has issued with no reservations or no qualifications regarding the state of compliance of all the applicable laws, rules, regulations of the auditee business activities, documents, statements, etc. In this opinion, the auditor follows a standard opinion format to state that all the statements, documents, other business procedures are in a fair representation of the condition of the auditee's business and in accordance with the applicable laws. Means unmodified means without any reservations or without any qualifications report has been given. It is a clean report. And before forming an unmodified opinion, auditors should be reasonably assured that books are free from material misstatements. And unmodified opinion may be formed only if company is compliance in terms of timeliness and compliance in terms of process. Either one, if failed also, unmodified cannot be given. So both should fulfill compliance in terms of timeliness, compliance in terms of process. So that is given in the example format. As per law, due date of filing annual return is of MGT 7 with the register of companies is given as 60 days from the date of AGM of the company, and the company has filed the said return within the prescribed limit of 60 days. That means company has adhered to the applicable laws properly and within the given timelines. And next, if a company is required to shift registered office from one place to another with the same state and ROC, the whole set of procedure given in Companies Act is required to be followed. Example, conducting board meeting for approval of shifted register in intimation to registers in form INC 22 along with various documents as attached within 15 days of passing the BR. So both should fulfill. Next, modified opinion. Modified opinion will be given by the auditor if he concludes that 4 things. First, audit evidence obtained, but there is a non-compliance, and audit evidence obtained and records are not free from misstatement. Next 2 is unable to obtain the audit evidence, but audit evidence is to conclude that there is a due compliance, means he is not able to obtain the evidence to conclude that there is compliance, and he is unable to obtain the appropriate evidence that records is free from material misstatements, means to form the opinion that due compliance is there and no books are the free from misstatements. To form the opinion, evidence is required. That evidence is not obtained. C and D. Next, case study. 2 case studies are there. Next, types of modified opinion or modification on opinion can be any of the 3 categories: qualified opinion, adverse opinion, disclaimer of opinion. In qualified opinion, opinion can be considered as qualified opinion when auditor specifically provides the additional paragraph or points out specific instances where the company has failed to compliance as required under the law, or provides reasons for not issuing the unqualified report. Means 2 possibilities are there to issue the qualified opinion. First, he has to mention the reason why he is issuing the qualified opinion. Second, there are specific instances where the company has failed to do the compliance. Second, adverse opinion. Adverse opinion will be issued when auditor concluded that affairs of the company are not in line with the objectives, government rules, and company has neglected and grossly misstated its records. Means both. It is not in line with the objectives and misstated the records. An adverse opinion may be indicator of fraud. Adverse is an indicator of fraud, and public entities that receive an adverse opinion are forced to take corrective actions. Disclaimer of opinion. If auditor is unable to access the records, or he could not complete the audit due to absence or requisite evidence records, or insufficient cooperation from the management, then in 3 situations: first, he is unable to access records; second, he could not complete the audit; and insufficient cooperation from the management. In these 3 situations, auditor issued disclaimer of opinion. It is an indication that no opinion was formed by the auditor, and the auditors was not able to conclude that affairs of the company are conducted in a true and fair manner. Such disclaimer of opinion is not considered as an opinion itself. Means it is not at all opinion only. Disclaimer they gave. Whenever the auditor expresses a modified opinion or disclaims an opinion, the text of the opinion shall be bold or italic, and the auditor has to describe the reasons why he gave the disclaimer of opinion or modified opinion. Next, emphasis of matter. It is like highlighting. In the textbook how we highlight, this is also like highlighter work on emphasis of the matter. The audit report to seek the attention of the reader, to make the reader aware about the specific instances which are not in the general course of action. Such matters can have positive as well as negative impact on the affairs of the company in the future. So the following are the examples of matters which should be considered as emphasis of matter: legal uncertainty, litigation certainty, new technology, changes in the regulatory environment, major catastrophe, early application of new AS. Here the catastrophe means disaster, means sudden major, an event caused sudden, great, unusual sudden change. There is an event which caused sudden damage or suffering to the company. Next, materiality. Materiality can be defined as a magnitude of an omission or misstatement of the information that, in the light of surrounding circumstances, make it probable that the judgment of a reasonable person relying on the information would have been changed or influenced by the said omission or misstatement. Means if any person has given the opinion or anything, suggestion, because of any omission or misstatement, that may change. That what materiality means. When an information is considered material, the information is considered as material if its omission or misstatement could influence the opinion of the auditor. Materiality can also be construed in terms of net impact. If impact is more, materiality is also more. If impact is less, materiality is also less. And one more, higher the materiality level, lower the audit risk. Means if the transaction is more important, in the risk will be less. So audit risk is also less, and vice versa. The auditor shall consider materiality while forming the opinion and adhere to principle of completeness, objectivity, timeliness, contradictory process. Completeness, objectivity, timeliness, contradictory process. And materiality is applied in both planning and performance of the audit and forming the opinion. Materiality consists of both qualitative and quantitative factors. A matter can be judged material if knowledge of it's likely to influence the decision of intended users. Materiality is a relative concept. Materiality is a matter of professional judgment of the auditor and its team experience. Process for forming of an opinion. Completeness, objectiveness, timeliness, contradictory process. Objectivity means independence. Completeness means without completely gathering the information should not form the opinion. And threat to objectivity. There are 5 threats. First, self-interest, self-review, advocacy, familiarity and intimidation. Self-interest means if the auditor is self-interested in the matter in which he is going through the audit. Next, self-review. Before he only conducted the audit and now again he only employed for the same audit. So, self-review. If in the past, if he do the correction, his reputation will go down. So, self-review. Even if there is a mistake in the past audit, he will not disclose it. Self-review threat. Next, advocacy threat. The auditor is representing the company. So, anything against the company he cannot say. Familiarity threat. Familiarity or trust threat. A threat that the auditor may become over-influenced by the personality and qualities of the director and management, consequently too sympathetic to their interest. The auditor may become too trusting of the management representation. Means if he get close by the management or some people, he become too sympathetic. So he will not disclose any event which negatively impact the company. Or if he trusts the management representation so as to be inadequately rigorous in testing of them because he knows the auditee too well or issue too well or some similar reason. Intimidation threat. Fear. The possibility that the auditor may become intimidated by the threat by dominating personality or by other pressures actual or feared by a director or manager or by some other party. So illustrations are very important. Once read them. Next, the timeliness. Before threat, there are some other points. Threat. For threat, safeguards against threat. Auditors should behave with integrity. Within every audit firm, there should be a strong peer pressure towards integrity. Audit firms of all sizes should establish strong internal procedures and control over the work of individual auditors. Next, principle of timeliness. In timeline, should complete the audit. And contradictory process. Principle of contradictory process. If during the audit any contradictory evidences have lightened up, the auditor should form the opinion only when he is sure that either of them is correct and one is right, one is wrong. Towards the right, he has to form the opinion. Until he gets the sufficient evidence, he should not form the opinion. While forming an audit opinion, the auditor should go through the judgment, clarification and conflicting interpretation, judgments. And next, role of precedents and practices. Means the method used for audit. Random sampling, non-statistical, statistical, that on what method he has chosen the sample, on that basis only opinion also depends. Next, limitation. If after accepting the audit engagement, the appointing authority imposes a limitation on the scope in which opinion of the auditor is likely to result in the need to express a modified opinion or disclaim an opinion, the auditor shall request the opponent to remove the limitation. So, if after appointment and after audit engagement, if company wishes to change the scope and impose a limitation, it should take a prior permission of the auditor. And next, if the auditor is unable to obtain the sufficient audit, the auditor should determine the implication as follow. And if the possible effect of the scope limitation are material, means because of the limitation there is a possible effect which are material, then material and not pervasive to the business, auditor may modify the opinion. If material and pervasive, disclaimer and opinion. Third party report or opinion. Third party means any person who does not have a direct connection with the audit but whose inputs or opinion might influence on the audit conclusion and includes an expert. The auditor shall adhere to the following while forming opinion based on the third party. First, the auditor shall indicate the fact of use of third party report, opinion, and shall also record the circumstances necessitating the use of third party report. Means he should disclose that I have used the third party confirmation and reason why he want to take the third party opinion. Auditor shall indicate the fact if third party report or opinion provided by the auditee. Means the third party is referenced by the auditee or he only searched for the third party. That the auditor shall consider the important findings or observation of third party. The auditor shall, if necessary and feasible, carry out supplement test to check veracity of the third party report or opinion. While using the work of the auditor should consider the independence and objectivity of the third party, take account of third party's professional competence, consider the scope of third party's work, determine the cost effectiveness of using such. Means cost should not so high and scope should be there, competence should be there, perform procedure to obtain the sufficient appropriate audit evidence, consider the significant findings of other auditor. When using the work of third party, the auditor should carefully consider that third party may only recognize a duty of care to address the audit report. Management representation letter draft. This representation will be made by the management and will be given to the auditor. So in first auditor name MS ABC Co Company Secretaries XYZ Road India, dear sir, representation. In this first the different acts, Companies Act, SEBI, depositories, FEMA, what and all acts for company applying, that all should mention in first para. And we have to mention that for the purpose of complying with these acts, we have employing you as an auditor. We, the undersigned, acknowledgement of our responsibility for maintaining the secretarial records referred above and confirm to the best knowledge and belief following representation. So these representations are given by the company to the auditor. Company law means in company law there are some provision to be complied by the company. Company is giving disclosure that we, under the company law, there are some requirements to be complied by our company. We are complying. Means some points we should write. Our own we can write. Company has maintained books of accounts. Company has complied with the provisions of secretarial standards. Company has complied with the provisions of Companies Act. No request for transfer of has been given. Statutory are kept for the public inspection whenever want. Notice of the board meeting sent to all directors. Notes and notes to agenda sent to all directors. No resolution were passed by circulation. Common points which you know about company law you can write. Next, securities law. UPSA information kept secret. Investor complaint resolved. Company has complied with the SEBI LODR. Next, specific labor related laws, that also we have all complied. All premises and establishment have been registered. Environment law. We not discharging the contaminated water, like water related, air related, can write own. We are not disposing directly waste to the rivers. We are cleaning it and then later we are disposing, so that minimizing the wastage directly into the water. And air, even for the air directly we are not emitting the harmful resources. We have first taken care of that. After some minimizing the effects only, we are leaving the rest to the air. That like that we can write environment laws, competition law. We have not entered into any anti-competitive agreement. Next, date plus director, sign, over. Opinion obtained by the management means audit. After all the audit work has done, he will submit the report to company. So company will reply what and all his points are there, company's points, that the company will reply. It is left to the auditor whether that reply has to consider or not, and after that he has to make the final report. Upon consideration of the information produced by the company as audit evidence, the auditor should evaluate whether the information is sufficient and appropriate for purpose of audit by the performing procedure to test the accuracy, evaluate whether the information is sufficient or not. Next, exit conference. While concluding the audit, the auditor should conduct a meeting with the management of the company or with the group supervisory offices. The audit observations should preferably be shared with the officials beforehand for providing the opportunity to discuss the audit findings and clarify any point relating to audit and observe. Same point again referred. In exit conference, auditor will submit a report or any audit findings to the management, and management will reply their points, and after incorporating final report. Evaluation of audit evidence and forming of an opinion. Audit evidence plays a significant role in forming of opinion. Based on such evidence, auditors form their opinion in the report. Accordingly, the auditor should obtain competent, relevant and reasonable evidence to support his judgment and conclusion. While collecting the audit evidence, the auditor should consider the below. First, reliability of the documentary evidence, evidence on direct personal knowledge, evidence from external source, reliability of visual evidence, examining figures less reliable, oral evidence least reliable, reliability of information generated within entity, photocopies less reliable, accepted evidence, gain increased assurance. After exit meeting and completion of audit procedure, the auditor should prepare an executive summary of all the audit findings. The summary explains the key audit issues, category of risk, their resolution, agreed adjustments. After discussion, the executive summary, the audit certification should be signed by the auditor and by the management or person authorized by the management of the company. The executive summary should include 13 points are there. Summary of audit, auditee operations, framework, audit approach, risk identified, key balances, accounting policies, procedures, difficulty, question of principle or judgment were involved, previous year audit, matter forwarded from previous year audit, summary of other important matters, outstanding matters, for example, outstanding reappointment orders or letter authorizing agreed amendments, summary of matters carried forward to the next year audit, conclusion on appropriate form of audit certificate. Different stages of communication and discussion should be preliminary draft, exit meeting, formal draft, final report. Auditor's responsibility. Auditor's responsible report includes a separate section with heading Auditor Responsibility that will state or express the opinion of the auditor about the following: whether the audit has been conducted as per standards, whether the auditor has obtained reasonable assurance, responsibility to express opinion on the evidence collected, followed all applicable laws, act, rules, regulations. Format of report. Next, prerequisite for the reporting. An audit report should be accurate, objective, clear, all one line. Accurate, objective, clear, concise, constructive, complete, timely. Submission of the audit report. After considering the clarification replies from the auditor shall prepare the audit report in prescribed format. Sometimes the report is addressed to the members, but it is to be submitted to the board. The report shall contain the opinion on the statutory compliance. Signing of audit report. The auditor's signature is either in the name of audit firm, the personal name of the auditor, or both as appropriate for the particular jurisdiction. However, in case of secretarial audit report, the report should be signed by the secretarial auditor who conducted or under whose supervision the secretarial audit was conducted. In case of PCS firm, the secretarial audit report may be signed by the partner who conducted or under whose supervision secretarial audit was conducted. Reporting with the qualification, bold or italic. What is the manner of reporting qualification in the secretarial audit report? Bold or italic, any adverse. And why he gave bold or italic means modified opinion. He should mention the reason thereof. Further, board of directors shall explain in full qualification or observation or remarks made by the CS in practice. ABC Limited is a listed company. The company has appointed MSSS Associates as its secretarial audit. For the secretarial auditors have conducted the audit and submitted the audit report in Form MR3 stating that, means secretarial audit report format. In this, first, board composition, regulation 17(1)A SEBI LODR, and the company has made appointment of 4 independent director, 1 women independent director, audit committee and a NRC committee. In reporting with qualification, bold or italic. And second point is, if the auditor is unable to express, he should mention that unable to express opinion and reasons thereof. And in the scope of work, if any restrictions were imposed regarding that, also he should indicate the limitations. If such limitation, because of that limitation, the auditor is unable to express an opinion, the auditor should state the absence of necessary information and records. He is unable to report on compliance relating to such areas of companies. Further, according to under section 134(3), shall provide a explanation in full on any qualification or observation or other remarks made by the company secretary in practice in the secretarial audit reports. Done. Questions. What do you mean by auditor opinion? And describe various forms of auditor's opinion. Audit opinion means view of auditor after going through the procedure of audit and conducting the audit, what audit is in the opinion, whether modified, unmodified, clean opinion, that we have to write. And forms of audit also same thing, modified and unmodified. In unmodified, further there are 3: qualified opinion, adverse and disclaimer of opinion. Second question, explain under what circumstances the auditor should express the qualified opinion and how the auditor should express the same in the audit report. How means bold and italic. What circumstances qualified opinion? For qualified opinion, there are specific instances where the company has failed to compliance, and also auditor should provide a reason for not issuing unqualified report. Even that 4 points also we can write. Auditor obtained the evidence that non-compliance is there. Auditor obtained the evidence that there is a material misstatement, and auditor not got the sufficient evidence to conclude there is a due compliance. Auditor not got sufficient evidence to conclude that books and records are free from material misstatements. These 4 points also we can add. Explain the manner for signing of secretarial audit report. Individual and firm. In case of if in PCS firm, either partner or under whose supervision the audit has been conducted, their name. If it is a secretarial audit report, the report should be signed by the secretarial audits who conducted the, or under whose supervision secretarial audits was conducted, indicating FCS ACS number along with certificate of practice number issued by the Institute of ICC. Materiality is a threshold above which missing or incorrect information is considered to have an impact on the decision making of the auditor. In context of the above lines, explain the concept of materiality. The auditor shall consider materiality while forming his opinion and adhere to principle of completeness, objectivity, timeliness, contradictory process. And we can write materiality meaning also. First, materiality meaning, and auditor shall consider materiality while forming opinion and these 4 principles. And one line meaning of these 4 principles. And threat to objectivity also we can write 5 points. Threats to objectivity can arise in number of ways, some general in nature and some related to the specific circumstance of an assignment or role. Explain the threats to objectivity. So for this, first we have to explain the objectivity, and then we have to go to threats to objectivity, and also we can write how to overcome the objectivity threat. Threats to objectivity include self-interest threat, self-review threat, advocacy threat, familiarity or trust threat. Next, intimidation threat. Explain each of them in one single line and safeguard against these threats. 3 points are there. Should behave with integrity and peer pressure towards the integrity and reliance by the management or audit firm, and should establish a strong internal procedures. Next question, the auditor shall adhere to generally accepted precedents and practices in relation to forming of an opinion as may be available from historical perspective of any kind of audit elicited. Next, objectivity is essential for any secretarial auditor in exercising professional judgment during the audit. In light of above statement, explain the term objectivity and various threat to auditors' objectivity in detail. So same repeated. Explain the objectivity and threats to objectivity, and even safeguards against the threat to objectivity also we can write. Done. Chapter 12. Thank you so much.